Imagine this for a moment: 3 generations, 3 eras, 3 completely different worlds, yet every single one of them walked into the same trap. Your grandparents were told to save, your parents were told to buy a home. You are told to invest, different instructions, different packaging, same outcome, and beneath all of them lies one uncomfortable truth. None of these strategies were designed to make ordinary people wealthy, only compliant. Go back to your grandparents' era. Saving money in the bank wasn't just smart, it was moral. It was a virtue. Families were told, work hard, save diligently. The bank will protect your future. Governments encouraged it. Banks advertised it. People trusted it. Why wouldn't they? But then the 1970s hit. Inflation didn't arrive like a storm, it crept in like a thief. And suddenly the so-called safe strategy collapsed. In the UK, the pound lost nearly half its purchasing power within 1 decade. A lifetime of savings shrank into fractions. In Italy, the lira became a slow-motion disaster. Savings eroded year after year until ordinary families realized their bank accounts were melting ice cubes. Across Europe and the US, millions learned a painful truth: money sitting still is money dying. Your grandparents weren't wrong. They followed the script perfectly, but the script was written to ensure they would lose. Then came your parents' generation. After watching their parents get crushed by inflation, the new wisdom became: don't save, buy a house, real estate is safe, homes always go up. So your parents bought the dream literally. But here's the hidden flaw: a primary home doesn't generate wealth. It consumes it: mortgage, interest, taxes, insurance, maintenance, upgrades. It's not an asset unless it pays you. And when the bubble bursts, the illusion bursts too. In Spain, the early 2000s real estate frenzy convinced families they were finally building wealth, until 2008 wiped out everything. In Ireland, housing collapsed so violently that entire ghost towns were left behind. Even in the UK, 2007 buyers spent more than a decade clawing their way back to break even. Your parents weren't reckless. They trusted a system designed to extract wealth, not secure it. Now we reach you. The script changed again, not to protect you, but to keep you playing the game. Today's message is: don't save, don't rely on a house, just invest. The market always goes up. But does it? This generation is told to throw money at stocks, ETFs, crypto, NFTs, tech IPO, meme stocks, whatever is trending today. Social media adds fuel. Your money is lazy. Invest everything. Don't miss the next boom. And in that rush, millions walk into the same trap as previous generations, just with flashier branding. The crypto crash of 2022 erased over $2 trillion in paper wealth in months. Pension funds marketed as safe nearly imploded because they were secretly stuffed with risky derivatives. In the Netherlands, one of the world's most disciplined systems, retirees saw benefits quietly cut. Different decade, different assets, same result. Every generation thinks it's facing a brand new financial world. It isn't. It's the same ancient script, replayed with new vocabulary. Look underneath and the same traps appear. Inflation silently siphoning value from wages and savings. Bubbles inflating quickly, sucking in the public, collapsing faster. Debt, mortgages, credit cards, student loans, modern shackles disguised as opportunity. Together, these 3 forces guarantee one outcome: wealth flows upward, losses flow downward. We've seen this play out for thousands of years. Rome debased its currency until the silver coin was barely metal dust. Ordinary citizens suffered while landowners grew stronger. Weimar Germany wiped out savers. Those with factories, gold, or land survived. Greece's pensioners lost retirement promises after 2008, but international creditors were paid first. The playbook is always the same: erode, inflate, crash, extract. Here's the uncomfortable truth that sits beneath every financial crisis, every inflation cycle, every bubble, every crash. A tiny fraction of people always come out ahead, and it's not luck, it's not timing. It's not some mysterious insight reserved for the gifted. It is simply that they understand a rule that most people never learn: the rule that the financial system isn't built to reward the hardworking majority. It rewards the small minority who position themselves above the traps that everyone else falls into. Think about the gold rush again. History remembers the miners as dreamers who risked everything for the chance at fortune. But the ones who became wealthy were not the ones digging holes. It was the merchants who sold the shovels, the picks, the wheelbarrows, the boots, the tents. The miners took the risk. The merchants collected the money. The same story repeats in Silicon Valley. When startups collapse, the founders lose equity, the employees lose their jobs, but the companies selling cloud services, software tools, and advertising packages keep thriving no matter what. They are the modern shovel sellers. These winners understand one thing: it is far safer to supply the game than to play it. Look at inflationary periods. When currencies lose value, savers suffer, wages lag behind prices, retirees watch their lifetime earnings evaporate, but the wealthy, the ones holding land, factories, energy resources, rental property, they often grow richer. Why? Because during inflation, real assets climb in value while cash shrinks. They don't hold the melting ice cube, they hold the glacier. Even in Rome, when emperors began reducing the silver content of the denarius, ordinary citizens kept accepting the coins without understanding their declining worth. The elites did. They moved their wealth into land, livestock, and trade goods. Every coin that lost value made their hard assets relatively stronger, and when the empire eventually crumbled under the weight of its own financial decay, guess who still held power? The landowners who never trusted the currency in the first place. The same pattern played out in Weimar Germany. Teachers, clerks, and factory workers saw their savings wiped out in months, but those who owned property or ran essential businesses, bakeries, breweries, transport, survived and often prospered. They weren't smarter, they just understood the difference between money and value. Now look at the modern world. When the housing bubble burst in 2008, millions of middle-class families lost their homes. They paid the price for believing the slogan "real estate always goes up." But the hedge funds waiting on the sidelines bought those same homes at rock-bottom prices, then rented them out to the very families who had just lost everything. They turned the ashes of the crisis into a business model. The winners didn't avoid the system. They understood the system. They knew that bubbles burst, currencies weaken, markets cycle, and the rules that guide ordinary people are not the rules that produce long-term wealth. And here's the most important part: these winners think differently about assets. They don't mistake consumption for investment. They don't confuse speculation with wealth building. They don't rely on institutions to protect them. They build value that can breathe through inflation, recession, or chaos. Real wealth is quiet. It's not loud like meme stocks or flashy like crypto pumps. It's not trending on social media. Real wealth looks like skills that can't be taken away, businesses that solve real problems, ownership of things people will still need when the hype cycles die out. It is patient, it is boring, and it is powerful. This is why the same families in many countries stay wealthy for generations. They don't chase the new advice every decade. They don't jump into whatever the mainstream calls the future of money. They anchor themselves in value that cannot vanish overnight, and that brings us back to the cycle. Your grandparents lost to inflation because they believed saving was safe. Your parents lost to housing bubbles because they believed a home was a guaranteed investment. Your generation risks losing to speculative markets because you're told the only way to survive is to keep throwing your money into assets you don't control. But it doesn't have to continue. The cycle feels inevitable only because most people never stop to question it. They never step back far enough to see the pattern. They trust the slogans, they follow the rules, they play the game they were handed. The winners step outside the script. They stop thinking like consumers. They stop chasing bubbles. They stop treating money as the goal. They start treating value as the foundation. Once you understand that every generation has been sold a different version of the same illusion, you begin to see clearly. You begin to realize that the system isn't failing, it's functioning exactly as designed. It takes from the many and funnels to the few, but you don't have to be on the losing end of that equation. You can build real wealth, the kind that survives inflation, recessions, bubbles, and political chaos. You can step out of the cycle instead of becoming another example inside it. You can choose to stop being the miner and start being the merchant. And when you do, you stop playing the game that traps every generation, and you start playing the game that liberates you. If this opened your eyes or gave you a perspective you've never heard before, tell me your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more financial deep dives like this, subscribe to the Fiscal Archivist. Your journey out of the cycle starts here.